This video is a plea for sanity. There are so many issues within the world and presented on YouTube, but one refuses to go away. Lately, we have been saturated with race-related talk. Today, we have another misguided person, in my opinion, that I want to talk with here. Pointman 8883. You are treading dangerous waters, for you are not presenting yourself without deception. I came across an exchange that you and Kilo 34 appear to be having. The contents I found disturbing, so I wanted to address you regarding it and share my ideas with my subscribers. It appears both you and Kilo 34, now known as No White Privilege, have an agenda that should be held suspect. It is my experience with Kilo 34 that most positions presented that is in opposition to his is considered to be pig-headedly attached to some irrelevant opinion and is automatically seen as intolerant of those that share his position. That said, how can you combat that a black individual has the ability to abusively use mental constructs of superiority towards other group members? There are some people who are black that act from the belief that they are intrinsically superior to members of other ethnic groups. All people belong to the same hominid, Hominid, subspecies, and share certain potential. All share the ability to hate. Or maybe I should say, most share the ability to hate. What I do agree with is that there is no such thing as black racism. Yes, YouTube, you heard me correctly. There is no such thing as black racism, and I get tired of people saying that. It exists. There is no such thing as black racism. There is no such thing as white, Asian, or native racism. You see, there is only racism committed by people. There is no specific methodology of racist action that would require its own taxonomic group via racial constructs. Why are you branding all people within various phenotypical groups for the sake of promoting your group identity politics? I do not think no valid case can be made for an operational black supremacy group in America. It is not enough to say that this group is because they say so. Nope. We understand this is a blanket term that has become popular to describe blacks who buy into the superiority racket. This labeling does not strictly come from outside groups. Black groups can erroneously label themselves this, but without money, power, and influence, it would fall flat. Now, a black individual can be a black supremacist because that is an ideological format that does not require money, power, and influence to be operational. Yes, I have seen crafty racists from other groups, as well as certain intellectual elite, conflate black people who are vocal against injustice with black supremacists. This does happen. This is done to shut down their efforts. This comes with the territory if you're going to be an advocate for injustice done against black people. You just have to accept it. There will always be whites that will think blacks want to rule America and will do all that they can to make sure this does not become a reality. You paint black people as being a pious group because certain individuals within the group still experiences racism, both individual and institutional. This is true. Racism is experienced in both the individual reality and via an institutional reality. But black people as a group are not pious, nor is any other group. There are many acts of aggression that is brought on by malice from blacks to whites. It happens around the world every day. This has to stop if you want a chance at a better world. Many want to claim that whites and blacks cannot live together. They want to use the quote from Thomas Jefferson. I believe it states, "Nothing is more certainly written in the book of fate that these people are to be free. Nor is it less certain that the two races, equally free, cannot live in the same government. Nature, habit, opinion has drawn indelible lines of distinction between them." Forgive me if I misquoted Thomas Jefferson, but I think I nailed it. As it relates to black supremacy, you state the white argument against it is based on hatred and resentment. The black argument is based on truth and perception. It is undeniable that you are attempting to create a slogan. Do you swim in the waters of bifurcation much? Again, you yield no attention to the individual. You may not understand this, but you have the burden of proof here. You see, in many situations, one side is saddled with the burden of proof. This side is obligated to provide evidence for its position. No amount of communicative effort on YouTube will solve this issue we are discussing. It is rare that a formal debate can be held on YouTube. Mostly, you will find people advancing reasons with no moderator and no structure. Later bicker that both were subjected to some sort of injustice, and it all amounts to a contest of wills and who outperforms who. There is rarely any uncovering of truth, or is even about truth. That being cleared, you look foolish, emphatically making assertions without evidence. The burden of proof is always on the person making an assertion or proposition. It is a fallacy to assume that something is true unless proven otherwise. I would like to state that you made a valid point in comparing the definitions of white supremacy and black supremacy as it is stated on Wikipedia. Wikipedia defines white supremacy as a belief and a promotion of a belief, where it defines black supremacy as a blanket term used for certain ideologies. I would deem some of the groups you used to illustrate your point were indeed racist, but that is not relevant here. We do not want to detract from the difference in definition. The concept of supremacy does not change because of differences in ethnicities or race. However, I would not claim Wikipedia to be a valid source. Certain universities do not acknowledge it because anyone can contribute to its database. I do not know this for certain, but this is what has been reported to me. If you're going to address this point from a scholarly perspective, you will need sources that will be respected. If anything, this shows certain perspectives throughout the world, okay? But, key word here, not necessarily a conspiracy against black organizations. If you have an issue with this, then be proactive and challenge the validity of this definition with Wikipedia. I would also like to highlight another place where we sort of agree. I do not like to play the game of who is greater victim. It is counterproductive. I will not travel this road, so I will stay away from the superlative most. However, I will agree, and it is my outlook, that black males are purposefully, overly analyzed, categorized, fixated upon. They are constantly labeled, devalued, and examined by the media. It is claimed by some that blacks are portrayed as virtuous, hardworking, and a noble people who have overcome much. If this is supposed to be an accurate representation, it is bogus. Don't you see? Both extremes are used by the media to send conflicting messages. It is not solely a matter of various individuals sharing their personal outlook. I am sure examination will yield, depending on political climate, a distinct use of imagery to advance certain villainous agendas. This is also seen with white men. No, not in the same way. However, you will see how the media is now making all white men, specifically all middle-class white men, the redhead stepchild. This is yet another divisive tactic. This should provide a bridge for men of different groups to converse openly and to attack this perspective, which is definitely counterproductive. I would also say that you were leading to a very valid point, but I don't think you really got there. Demonizing various groups is more profitable than producing views, projections, or statistical information that shows people, and especially black males, in a positive light. Sex, crime, drama, negativity, and lies sell. People's dirty laundry sells. Don Henley told us this. Trash talk, highly marketable. This does not mean the news should not report the news. If a black man is committing a crime, they should be reported. The issue I see is one of purposefully editing reality for the sake of promoting some political correctness and to demonize any group that the financiers of the media have a bias towards. Think about it before you dismiss it. I will also agree that the default position in assessment of a black man's character in America is negative. The same can be said for atheists, middle-class white males, and sex workers advocates. Perception shaping is a powerful tool that can help indoctrinate minds towards unsavory positions. It normally is targeted towards unpopular individuals and groups. The media is not the friend of the common man. I will address self-hate at another time, but today I will say when one is bombarded with negativity, they have an elevated chance of being influenced. Many people are susceptible to redundancy. If you hear an allegation repeatedly, this becomes fact in the non-discriminatory mind or the unsophisticated observer where discernment is not used. You state in your video, you do not support racism of any kind. You are projecting yourself as either naive and misguided or an unrealized racist. You cannot have it both ways. Either you stand for truth for all people, or your actions become an ingredient which contributes to the currently debased paradigm. I appreciate you stating that black people do not have inherent shortcomings, which would prevent them from being successful in life. This is something that needs to be repeated. However, I urge you to take responsibility for your actions and to re-examine your position. I do not want to change your mind. I would encourage you to think for yourself. I hope that you do not fall prey to cognitive distortions and faulty reasoning. Peace.